Did you know that every time you say, "You're so beautiful," you're giving away your power and your interest on a silver platter? Most men think compliments like that are the key to winning someone over, but in reality, what you're doing is showing weakness, desperation, and a lack of true value. The truth is, if you don't learn to stop falling into these traps, you'll be doomed to get stuck in a cycle of shallow, empty relationships. Today, I'm going to reveal something that will change the way you relate to women forever. From how to build genuine attraction to how to challenge her intelligently so she truly values you. What I'm about to tell you goes way beyond cheap compliments, and trust me, the last lesson will be the most impactful of all. I'm Celia, and if you're ready to step out of your comfort zone and start understanding what truly sparks interest, stay until the end. Have you ever stopped to think why, despite thinking you're complimenting her, she keeps losing interest? Maybe you've fallen into the trap of saying, "You're so beautiful," that compliment many believe is a magic formula to get a woman's attention. But let me tell you something, it's not. In fact, this kind of comment, as common as it is empty, makes you come across as a predictable man with no clear identity, relying on physical looks to create a connection. Let me put it bluntly. That phrase doesn't make you seem like a charming gentleman. It makes you seem like a man desperate to fill an emotional void with words that lack depth. Imagine you're standing in front of her, and suddenly, her face lights up for a moment, only to fade away just as quickly. The compliment slips from your lips, "You're so beautiful," and she smiles out of courtesy. But that smile isn't genuine. It's not the kind someone gives when they're truly intrigued by you. It's the same smile anyone gives when they receive a compliment from anyone, no matter the real connection. Why? Because that compliment is easy, it's empty, it's what everyone else says. Haven't you noticed that women get thousands of those comments every week, and all of them vanish into thin air, leaving no trace as if they never existed? The problem lies in what that phrase communicates, that you're unable to see beyond her appearance. What you should really be doing is inviting her to connect with you on an emotional, mental, deeper level. You should be the man who challenges her to think, not the one who surrenders to her physical beauty. Because let me be clear, beauty is just a superficial layer. If you don't have something more to offer, if you don't know how to awaken her mind and curiosity, everything you say will be lost in the air, and when that happens, the relationship has no future. It's easy to fall into the trap of empty compliments, and I know you've done it, as we all have at some point. But I want you to think about this. What if you stopped trying to win her interest with hollow words and started offering something more real? Something that makes her think that beyond your appearance, there's a man worth being with. That's the foundation of genuine attraction, and it's exactly what we're going to explore. In this first point, what you need to understand is that as we get older, time becomes the most valuable factor. We're no longer here to waste time on games or empty attempts to win someone's affection with phrases everyone says. We need to connect, leave a real mark in the other person's life. And that isn't achieved with a "you're so beautiful." It's achieved with a presence that leaves an impact, with genuine respect for her, and with words that go beyond the surface. What you should really be saying, if you want to spark her interest authentically, is something that challenges her world, something that shows there's more to you than just superficiality. The change is in your hands, and it starts with leaving behind the obvious, the easy, the things you already know don't work. If you're brave enough to do this, you'll see how the relationships you build will be much deeper, much more lasting. And when you start speaking to her this way, you won't be just another guy. You'll be the only one on her mind. That's what I want you to learn here, because if you don't make this change now, you'll stay stuck in the cycle of mediocrity, lost in a sea of men who only know how to repeat empty phrases. We've talked about the fallacy of empty compliments, about how seemingly harmless words like "you're so beautiful" distance you from what truly matters, a genuine connection. Now it's time to talk about the second big mistake that's ruining the lives of many men: the constant need for external validation, seeking others to validate your existence instead of doing what truly defines you, being yourself, without depending on others' opinions. And that, my friend, is one of the most dangerous traps you can fall into. The next big mistake is trying to fit into someone else's molds, feeling that your value is determined by what others think of you. This is something deeply human, of course, but also deeply destructive. We live in a society that constantly tells us we must adapt, that we must be what is expected of us. This intensifies as we age because society has a very particular way of defining us, especially when we reach maturity. We're told we should be softer, that we should leave behind the idea of being tough, that we must adapt to what others expect of us. And this is where many men make the same mistake. They give up their essence, what makes them authentic, just to please others, to be with the times, to be accepted by people who, in reality, shouldn't even have any influence on their well-being. The key to understanding this trap lies in the philosophy of Stoicism. The Stoics taught that inner peace doesn't depend on external factors, but on our ability to govern ourselves, to be independent of validation from the outside. Men who have reached a certain maturity and wisdom have lived enough experiences to know that others' expectations are an illusion, a mirage that only steals energy and time. A man's worth, especially one who's reached 50 or beyond, is not found in how many likes he gets on a photo or how many times someone tells him, "You look great for your age." True value lies in authenticity, in knowing who you are without needing approval. And this is exactly what society wants you to forget. Many people, especially as they age, fall into the trap of trying to be what others expect. And that's not living, that's surviving. Truly living is being the master of your own destiny, your mind, your body, your desires. It's being yourself, without pretending to fit into what you're not. What many don't understand is that the desire to fit in, to please others for validation, is a form of submission. Instead of living by your own principles, you live by the expectations of a world that's constantly changing and that only leads to dissatisfaction. This mindset not only destroys your inner peace, but it also creates a dangerous emotional dependency. Depending on what others think of you, you build your self-esteem, which, as we know, is completely unstable. True emotional independence is based on resilience, on your ability to stand firm even when the world turns its back on you. That's where true freedom comes in, when you can live according to your own values without letting others' opinions destabilize you. If you don't make this change, you'll always be seeking answers outside, and what you'll find is a constant dissatisfaction. What you should really do is shed the burden of trying to please everyone. You don't need others' approval to feel complete. You have enough experience and wisdom to know what truly matters and what doesn't. Learning to say no, to set firm and respectful boundaries, is what makes the difference between a life guided by your own principles and a life shaped by others' expectations. It's easy to fall into the trap of complacency, of wanting to adapt and be more likable, but that's a lie that slowly consumes you. The fear of rejection and the need for social acceptance have made you forget the most essential thing: your true essence, your authenticity. Stopping the search for external validation is the first step toward reclaiming your personal power and starting to live a life full of purpose, without being a slave to what others think of you. So, as you move forward, I invite you to reflect on this truth. External validation is fleeting. It's a mirage that leads you nowhere. True power lies in your ability to be yourself, without fears or excuses. Freedom begins when you realize you no longer need anyone's approval. And when you reach that point, you'll see how life takes a completely different turn, full of strength and clarity. We've talked about the trap of seeking external validation, how the desire to fit into the molds that others impose on us can destroy our authenticity and inner peace. Now, let's look at the strategy that can make all the difference and, if you apply it correctly, will transform the way you relate to others and to yourself. The next step is crucial because without it, you'll remain stuck in the same routine you've been living. It's time to learn how to set firm boundaries, to learn how to say no without feeling guilty about it. This is more than a strategy. It's a way of life that will allow you to reclaim your personal power and, more importantly, your respect. Setting boundaries is not just an act of protection, it's an act of self-love. The key is to be aware of your emotional, physical, and mental boundaries and learn not to give in to others' demands when they go against your well-being. If you allow people to use you without considering your needs, you're giving away your life and energy to those who don't care about you. It's not about being selfish, it's about respecting yourself and understanding that by setting boundaries, you're not only protecting your peace, but also fostering healthier, more genuine relationships. Let me illustrate this strategy with a concrete example. Imagine that a friend or family member constantly asks you for favors, for money, your time, or your energy, but never shows real reciprocity. At first, you might feel guilty for not helping or for saying no, but over time, you realize that these actions are draining you, taking away what you need most, your peace. So, a point comes where you have to make a decision. Keep giving in to these demands, or set a clear and firm boundary. What many don't understand is that by setting a boundary, you're not only protecting your space, but also teaching others to respect you. It's not about being rude or insensitive, it's about being firm in who you are and what you need. If that person truly values you, they'll understand your decision. If they don't, then you'll know that the relationship is not based on mutual respect, but on one person's convenience. And at that moment, you've made one of the most powerful decisions of your life. Think about this. Boundaries aren't a wall you build to isolate yourself from others. They're an act of respect for yourself and for the people you relate to. By learning to say no when you need to, by prioritizing your well-being and needs, you show the other person that you value yourself and that you're not willing to let them use you. This is the kind of respect everyone seeks, but few dare to demand. Setting boundaries gives you the opportunity to take control of your life. Stop being a prisoner of others' expectations. When you dare to say no, you're not just setting yourself free, you're also creating space for the relationships that really matter, the ones based on respect and reciprocity. Before we continue, I want to ask you to subscribe to the channel and hit like if this message resonates with you. Also, leave me a brief comment about what setting boundaries means to you in your life. Are you ready to start taking control of your well-being? And tell me, where are you connecting from? We still have some important lessons to go through, and believe me, the last one will be key to transforming your life. We've talked about how boundaries are key to reclaiming your peace and control, about how to start prioritizing yourself and putting what truly matters first. Now, we arrive at the fourth point of the video, a mistake that many make when trying to change their lives, and it's a mistake that, although it seems innocent, is devastating. It's the trap of expecting change to come magically or instantly, without understanding that every transformation process requires patience and continuous effort. The big mistake we make is thinking that just because we've decided to change, the world should immediately align with our expectations. This is one of the most common failures, especially when we reach an advanced stage in life, when we're tired of waiting for things to change on their own. The mentality of wanting quick results can be destructive because it leads us to believe that change happens with a single step or a momentary decision. But the reality is very different. True, lasting change, the kind that transforms your life deeply, doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow process, often painful, but above all, it's a process that requires continuous work. Why is this mistake so destructive? Because it creates a false hope. It leads us to think that simply by wanting something, we can achieve it without any sacrifice. We're constantly bombarded with messages about quick changes and easy solutions, and we believe those magic formulas exist. It's like when we see ads for miraculous weight loss products, the promise of change without effort. But the truth is far more complex than that, and if we fall into that mindset, we condemn ourselves to failure. This idea sneaks into our minds without us realizing it because we're used to instant gratification, to wanting quick fixes. We forget that anything worthwhile takes time, effort, and consistency. Imagine you decide to start taking care of your health, working out, improving your diet, and at first, everything seems fine. But after a few days, when you don't see immediate results, you get frustrated and give up. This is the cycle that many people fall into. They decide to start, feel there are no immediate changes, and then give up. And when they try again, they do so with the same expectation, hoping that everything will be resolved quickly. But the truth is that, just like the body, the mind also needs time to adapt, to grow, and to mature. Progress isn't linear. It's a process full of ups and downs, of moments when everything seems to be stuck. But if you persist, you'll eventually see the fruits of your efforts. The consequences of this mistake are deep. First, it keeps you trapped in a cycle of despair and frustration. Starting and abandoning every attempt at improvement only leads you to feel more powerless, reinforcing the idea that change isn't for you, that maybe you'll never achieve what you set out to do. This affects your self-esteem and motivation because, subconsciously, you believe that the lack of quick results reflects your inability to succeed. This mistake also feeds the fear of failure. Every time you don't get the immediate results you expect, the fear of not being able to change digs deeper. And when fear takes over, you stop trying, you quit before you've even made it halfway. But the worst part is that by expecting quick results, you miss out on the opportunity to enjoy the process, to learn from obstacles, and to grow. The true value of change isn't in the final destination. It's in the process, in the lessons you learn while facing challenges, and in the internal transformation that occurs while you keep moving forward. The solution to this mistake is to accept the reality. Change is a process. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not something you can control completely. The only thing you can control is your effort, your discipline, and your ability to stay consistent. If you let go of the expectation of quick results, you'll be much more prepared for the long and rewarding journey ahead. Instead of looking for a quick fix, focus on what you can do today to move closer to your goal, no matter how slow the progress seems. Because, trust me, every small step takes you closer to where you want to be. Accepting this principle frees you from frustration and gives you the power to keep going, even when results aren't immediately visible. Perseverance is key, and it's what will transform your life, not an instant change. If you really want to achieve something meaningful, you need to commit to the process. Understand that everything worthwhile takes effort, and that the only real failure is giving up too soon. Now we come to the fifth point of this video, and this is where things really take a crucial turn. We're going to talk about something that affects many men, but that almost no one dares to acknowledge: the mistake of always living for others, of constantly giving in to others' expectations, and of putting others' needs above your own. This is a silent poison that destroys your dignity and respect. Living with the mindset that you must please everyone is a sentence disguised as kindness, and it's exactly what's leading you down a path that will only end in frustration, dependency, and worst of all, the loss of self-respect. This pattern creeps into your life subtly. You start with good intentions, with the idea of helping, of being the support for others, but little by little, you lose yourself in the process. You do what others expect of you, put your own needs and desires aside, just to be approved, just to avoid criticism, just so they don't see you as selfish. But what you don't understand is that in that process, you're losing your autonomy, your strength, and most importantly, your essence. Every time you give in to external pressure, every time you do something to avoid conflict or to be valued by others, you lose a piece of yourself. And the worst part is that you don't even realize it until it's too late. The consequences of falling into this trap are devastating. At first, you may feel like you're doing the right thing, like you're the good friend, the good son, the good partner. But what you're really doing is creating a cycle of emotional dependency. People around you begin to expect that you'll always be available, that you'll always put their needs before your own. And when you don't, they blame you, label you as selfish. Here's the trick. They've conditioned you to feel that you don't deserve to say no, that your life must revolve around others. But that constant sacrifice leads nowhere. All it leaves you with is a sense of emptiness, of resentment. And over time, if you continue down this path, what you'll end up with is a life full of regrets, with shallow, empty relationships that drain you, but never give you anything in return. How can this situation be reversed? There are no quick fixes or empty promises. The first step is hard, but essential. You have to accept that living to please others is not only unsustainable, but also destructive. This isn't about being toxic or completely shutting yourself off from the world. It's about understanding that you, and only you, are responsible for your emotional well-being. This involves making tough decisions, learning to set clear boundaries, and saying no when you need to without feeling guilty for it. It means you have to start living for yourself, becoming the protagonist of your own life, not the spectator of others' expectations. To do this, you need to change your mindset. You have to abandon the idea that your worth depends on what others think of you. And this isn't easy. It's going to be hard because we've been raised with the idea that love and approval from others are what give us value. But that's not true. Respect and true love must come from within. Only when you respect yourself, when you put your needs and well-being first, will you be able to build authentic relationships. But remember, it's not about being a tyrant or completely rejecting others. It's about being firm in your decisions and not allowing anyone, not even those closest to you, to manipulate you into living according to their desires. If you don't make this change, all you'll achieve is staying stuck in a cycle of sacrifice, of giving up, of living half a life. But if you manage to break free from this mindset, if you dare to set firm boundaries and make your life a priority, things will change. Not overnight, but in a deep and meaningful way. In the end, what you'll discover is that the only way to be truly happy is to live for yourself, to be true to who you are, and not give in to the expectations of a world that wants to mold you to its image. It's time for you to take control of your life. It's time to stop living for others and start living for you. This isn't selfishness, it's survival. Dignity is not negotiable. If you keep giving in, all you'll do is lose yourself. The question is, are you willing to keep losing yourself, or are you going to start rebuilding what really matters? We've talked about the need for change, setting boundaries, and stopping living for others. This is a crucial point because if you don't take control of your life, you'll remain trapped in a cycle of sacrifices and frustrations. But there's more, and now we arrive at the sixth point. Let's talk about something that many people find hard to accept, the mistake of not being a challenge for others. The mistake of always living with the same passive attitude, not creating any emotional tension, not being a challenge. If you don't understand this, if you don't learn how to be that challenge, you'll continue to be just another face in the crowd, irrelevant, predictable, and forgettable. Imagine this. You're having a conversation with someone you're genuinely interested in. You've left behind the desperation to please, you've started setting boundaries, and you begin to see things change in your life. But when the moment comes to interact, to show who you really are, to give them something that makes them think, all you do is be there, passive, not questioning anything, not sparking any reflection. You're not challenging their mind, you're not showing them something that makes them more interested in you. You're just there, passing by, without creating any spark. What happens when you do this? The answer is simple. You become invisible. People aren't attracted to predictability, to comfort. If you're unable to create tension, to be an emotional challenge, to offer something beyond what's expected, you simply become just another face. And believe me, just another face is quickly forgotten. Life isn't a bed of roses where everything is fine and comfortable. Attraction, real connection, is created in contrast, in difference. If you always present yourself as accessible, with no mystery, no challenge, you'll only be another name on the list of people who pass through life without leaving a trace. It's easy to fall into the comfort of predictability. It's easier to be that man who who always responds quickly, who's always available, who always gives what the other expects. But what happens is, by doing so, you become a flat figure. What truly attracts someone isn't what's expected from you, but what's unexpected. When you're that man who has something to say, who isn't afraid to challenge expectations, who keeps his mystery, who makes someone think twice before judging him, that's when you really start to make an impact. This isn't a game of manipulation, it's a game of authenticity, but authenticity with a dose of uncertainty, of not being so easily read. When you live to please, when you always give in to the comfort of avoiding conflict or discomfort, you lose that spark that can make someone truly value you. Instead, you become a static figure, someone who never questions, never challenges, never creates a tension that allows for a deeper connection. Do you really want to be that man who is just another face in the crowd, always giving what's expected, never surprising, never provoking a genuine emotional response? Now think about this. How would your life look if you started to be that challenge? If you could start being someone who isn't just available when asked, but someone who, on the contrary, has his own world, his own values, and brings them into play every time he interacts with someone. Imagine, for a moment, being the man who sparks an interesting conversation, who isn't afraid to ask uncomfortable questions, who isn't afraid of discomfort because he knows that's where real connection is made. What happens when you stay stuck in this pattern of being passive, of not creating a challenge, is that you keep losing ground. You keep being the man who adapts to what others want without showing who you really are. And in that process, you become someone forgettable, someone with no weight, no depth. You become a shadow of who you could be. And what happens when you're a shadow? You lose yourself. Your real value fades away, and you get stuck in mediocrity. The change is in starting to challenge, in becoming that man who generates curiosity, who creates emotional tension, who isn't afraid of being criticized or judged. Because what's at stake here isn't just your relationship with others, it's your relationship with yourself. Are you going to keep being someone who blends in, or are you going to start being someone who, even if it causes discomfort, has the ability to leave a real mark on those around him? The choice is yours, and believe me, if you don't start being a challenge, you'll be condemned to be just another figure in the crowd, another forgotten face in a sea of people who never dare to be different. It's time to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, how willing are you to step out of your comfort zone and start being that man who truly provokes a reaction, who creates a healthy and attractive tension? True strength isn't in what you do to please, but in what you do to maintain your authenticity, even if that means being a challenge for others. We've reached the 7th and final point of this video. Everything we've discussed up to now has led you to this moment, the true test. We've touched on important topics like boundaries, the need to challenge others, stop being predictable, and stop living to please others. But all of this means nothing if, in the end, you don't make a radical decision about your life. Change won't come by magic, nor by simply hoping that everything will improve on its own. Change comes when you decide to take full responsibility for who you are and who you want to be. And that is the most important lesson I can give you today. Change depends solely on you. No excuses. Up to this point, we've broken down the traps many men fall into, those lies that are sold to us as unshakable truths, that we can be everything to everyone, that being kind and likable is enough, that time heals everything. But the reality is much harsher. Life owes you nothing. No one is coming to rescue you. If you keep waiting for circumstances to change on their own, if you keep waiting for others to give you the respect you deserve without having earned it first, then you're fooling yourself. It's time to be brutally honest with yourself. You've spent too many years making excuses, hoping that something would change just by wanting it. But the truth is, change only comes when you decide to be the absolute responsible one for your life. A lot of people believe that if they do the right things, results will automatically come. But life doesn't work that way. What most people don't understand is that real change begins in your mind, in the way you see your life and the decisions you make. If you continue living with the mindset that circumstances are making you a victim, you'll never take control. You'll never change. Hard work isn't just physical, it's mental too. Changing your way of thinking is the first thing you need to do if you truly want to see different results. Are you ready to stop blaming everything and everyone for your failures? Are you ready to accept that your life is the result of what you've done so far? Until now, we've talked about setting boundaries, stopping pleasing others, challenging expectations, and being the most authentic version of yourself. But all of this, if not accompanied by a change in mindset, is useless. It doesn't matter how many boundaries you set if you don't believe you deserve them. It doesn't matter how many challenges you put in your life if you're not willing to face them with courage. The work doesn't end when you finish listening to this video. What starts now is the most important, your commitment to your own change. Stop looking for excuses, stop waiting for the perfect moment or the ideal circumstance. Stop blaming the past, your mistakes, or your circumstances. Everything you need to change is inside you, and if you don't recognize that, then none of what we've discussed here will have value. A lot of people live waiting for someone else to change, waiting for things to change on their own. That's not real. The world doesn't adapt to you, you adapt to the world. But what matters here is how you choose to do it. Are you going to keep being a victim of your circumstances, or are you going to be a man who takes responsibility for his life, who makes clear decisions and carries them out without excuses? Change isn't comfortable. It's not easy. It's not something you can wait for while sitting on your couch, watching time pass. It's something you have to pursue every day with discipline, courage, and the determination to not let yourself fall back. If anything I've said today has resonated with you, if you feel it's time to do something real, to start taking control, then it's time to begin. Not tomorrow, not in a week. Now, every day you delay this change is a day you lose. It's one more day you stay trapped in mediocrity. It's one more day you don't do what you know you must do to regain your dignity, your strength, and your independence. So, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to keep looking for excuses? Or are you going to take this lesson and start living as the man you're capable of being? The decision is yours, and only you have the power to make it real. Will you dare to be the man you've always wanted to be, or will you keep being a shadow of what you could be? If you've made it this far, I want to congratulate you. Not everyone is capable of facing uncomfortable truths all the way to the end. This is not an easy path, and I know that not everything I said was pleasant. But what I can assure you is that if you've managed to stick with it, it's because there's something inside you that's ready for real change, to take responsibility for your life once and for all. And that's the first sign that you're prepared to do what others don't dare. Now, I invite you to leave a short phrase in the comments that sums up what you've taken away from this video. Something that represents you, that reminds you of what you need to do to avoid falling back into mediocrity. Write something simple, something you say with conviction, because that's what will mark the beginning of your change. I also want to know which country you're watching from, because this community knows no borders. We are all those who have decided to awaken. I'm Celia, and the purpose of House of Wisdom is clear. We're not here to entertain you or to give you a pat on the back. We're here to open your eyes, to challenge you to see life as it truly is, and to push you into taking action. There are no empty promises here, only harsh realities and tools for you to live with strength, dignity, and independence. Don't expect the answers to come on their own. Here, we give you the keys to start changing, but only you can do the work. If anything you've heard has resonated with you, subscribe to this channel and join this community of men and women who've decided to live awake, without excuses, without false promises. Share this content because maybe someone else needs to hear these words to take control of their life. Don't let this conversation end here. Click on one of the videos that will appear on screen because we have so much more to discuss, and the transformation doesn't end with this video.